Hi, my name is Nicole and this is my 1973 Volkswagen bus that I'm traveling across the United States in 2 different national parks. And it kind of seems like something that's a little daunting at first, but let me break it down for you. So what I want to talk about today is planning out your route and figuring out how much it might cost and like what you need. You don't have to do it in a VW bus, but I'm going to give you some budget tips that I found to be useful because it can really add up and you got to watch your spending if you're doing it on a bus. Alright, so let's talk about planning your route. I feel like that was something that I just had certain national parks. Like for instance, I really wanted to go to the Tetons. And I was like, well, there's other national parks around it, but like, it's just kind of a daunting process to go through and be like, I'm gonna go this exact route. So I feel like when I was planning my route, I was looking for just general ideas of like, if I'm in this area, what should I add to it? And like, where should I go? Because I started this route all the way on the East Coast, and most of the things I wanted to see and do were on the West Coast. And so planning that out, figuring out what makes the most sense. I was most excited to get to the Tetons, so that was my first main goal. But then on the way there, if I did like a certain route, I could go through different national parks or forests or areas. And so for me, I used ChatGPT. Woo! Okay, so I was never really a big ChatGPT user, but it sources a lot of information and puts it together really well, so it saved me a lot of time. And so what I did was I went into ChatGPT, I made a little, I don't know if you call it a thread, but I made this little thread, we'll call it, and said, okay, I'm traveling the US in my 1973 Volkswagen bus. I would like to go to the Tetons National Park. I'd like to go to the California Redwoods. I'd like to see Big Sur and the Big Five in Utah and this, that, and the other. And I told it like a bunch of different places I wanted to go. And I was like, I'm starting from here. I have this much time. So I have a time frame starting from here, ending here, and I gotta start and end in the same place. What would you recommend? And then it gave me like some recommendations, and then I said, okay, well, I don't like this national park, let me take this out. I don't like this forest, I want to get here first, or like different things that I would remove or add, and just modified it until I had what I needed. So I literally tell it like, oh, I don't want to go to this forest preserve. And I'd be like, okay, would you like an alternate suggestion, or would you like to just keep on trekking through your route? It said it in different words, but you kind of get the picture. And so I basically made my route with ChatGPT, honestly, and it's worked out quite well. And so I did the same thing with like different mechanics or things like that. I'd be like, hey, where's the nearest like mechanic that can work on old air-cooled vehicles? Usually I'd say like Volkswagen bus, and when that wouldn't work, I'd look for others, depending on the area, because some places have like classic vehicle restoration experts and they can probably work on an air-cooled, even though it's like a different, they're not specialized in VW buses, but if it's something generic enough, they can work on it. So I'd say a big thing is planning your route. Then once you have a route, you're gonna have an approximate number of miles that you're gonna go, and then add a couple hundred to it, because you're gonna be zigzagging around and going and stopping places in the back, changing your mind on things, stopping at cute little libraries, cafes, scenic viewpoints. You just never really know. So I always like to add on a couple hundred extra miles for the trip, just to like have a good mind. I like to, I guess you could also do it as add 10% of the mileage that it says you're gonna do, because you're gonna detour, you're gonna go see things, you're not just gonna go straight shot through, because like that wouldn't make sense. Why would we be doing the road trip if we're not going to stop and see things? So that being said, add 10% to your mileage, or a couple hundred miles, whatever that is for you. Because like if you're only going 300 miles, adding a couple hundred miles doesn't really make sense. Then once you have that mileage, you can approximate, and I just went on like online and I looked up like how much the national average is for gas, and I just put something relatively there and then multiplied it by the miles. I'm like, okay, this should be about my gas budget. And then add a little bit more, add that 10%, because you just never know. Some places are gonna be cheaper for gas, some places are gonna be more expensive. It's crazy when you change like over from different states, you're gonna see a jump or a dip in gas prices. Silly, but that is what it is. And once you have an idea on gas, then you gotta talk about sleeping and where you're gonna stay or what you're gonna do. I found I really try to do free camping. Leave no trace, leave no trash, don't bring anything that could be bad for the environment. Like, just like be self-contained, pack it out. If you need to use a restroom, I usually run to a gas station, honestly, or I'll use like the national parks restrooms, or like a public restroom that happens to be open, or a store, something like that. I think if you pee, it's not as big of a deal as like anything else. So use your discretion there, but I don't think you should be leaving like toilet paper in such a beautiful area, if you know what I mean. Like, just don't be one of those people. Don't leave trash, don't leave toilet paper, pack in, pack out. And for the restroom, I just try and use it before I go into the campsite for the night. So like, if I know I'm going to like one of those BLM lands, for instance, where I can get like free camping, I'm not going to use the restroom there. I'm gonna go before I go. So I'm gonna stop off at a gas station, or stop off at a store, or at the National Park Center where they have like one of those kid toilets, they're really gross, but they work. And you just do that, and then you go to your campsite. That way you don't worry about it. And then when you wake up in the morning, you go somewhere that has a restroom, and happy-go-lucky, you're good to go. So that's an awkward conversation, but we just had it, so it is what it is. Okay, so sleeping. When you are sleeping on the road, I like to try and be discreet. I'm in a Volkswagen bus. That's not the most discreet thing. I use curtains. You can get them from Walmart or Target. I use blackout curtains. Let me see if I can grab them for you. No, they're way back there. I'm sorry, I just don't feel like grabbing them. But you can get blackout curtains. I got them in black. You can get them in different colors. I figured black was more like blending in. You can get white too. I just felt like that might draw attention, so I tried to keep it like as minimal as possible. But I got cheap blackout curtains. I put one here, one here. I use these little magnets. The inside of my vehicle is got some stuff that magnets can stick to, so I just do that. You can also set it up different ways. Some people do the strings, and you can like shuttle them across. Magnets was honestly the simplest and cheapest way to do it. It was like a couple bucks for the magnets. Then I got 2 packs of those magnet clip things from Walmart, and then I was set to go. When you are in a pinch for a place to park, some common recommendations that I would have: hospital, airport, long-term parking, which is paid, but like if you really need somewhere and you want to be safe. Hospital also has good surveillance. They're probably not gonna bug you. Like, ask me to move, you gotta move. I have tried like Planet Fitness and things like that, like the 24-hour ones, but I did get the dreaded window knock. I had to leave at like 4 in the morning, and then I parked in a neighborhood nearby. If you're parking in a neighborhood, I try and find ones that have other cars on the street. If you're the only car on the street in the neighborhood, not a good look. You don't want that. You want to go to kind of the neighborhood that's not super fancy, because then they'll get mad. They'll be like, what's this bus doing here? Or what's this camper or whatever? And they'll get suspicious. But you don't want to go to like the neighborhood that's not upkept at all, because then they're going to also be like, what are you doing here? You kind of want to do like the in-between neighborhoods that are kind of like, there's people parking on the street, they seem like your average person and friendly enough, but like you're not gonna make camp if you're camping in a neighborhood, you know what I mean? So you're gonna self-contain yourself, you're gonna stay in your vehicle. I try and get all the things that I would done before I get there, so you're not brushing your teeth in your car when you get there, you're brushing your teeth at the gas station and doing all that stuff to get ready. You can roll out your sleeping bag, have it in the back, have like whatever needs to be blown up or adjusted or moved around. You do that before you get to your park site if you want to remain discreet. And then you leave early. You arrive late, leave early. Obviously you're not going to sleep there for 12 hours. Hate to break it to you, but you're going to save money doing that. Even with groceries and things, I just find that they add up really quick. So I'll just pick out 2 free ones. There's also like, you can use different apps. You can use like iOverlander, or you can look up online, just like free places to camp near me. It's really iffy because some of the spots you need like a raised vehicle to drive, and like those I'll just end up turning back around because I'm like, that's not gonna work in this bus. First off, it's gonna chip the paint job, and second off, like, I am not confident driving this thing on a 4-wheel drive road, and this is not a 4-wheel drive vehicle. So that being said, I would try and look if they have like reviews of those free campsites for the BLM, because honestly a lot of people will tell you, they'll be like, this you need 4-wheel drive for, and then you'll be like, that is not me, or that is not. Once you when you get used to camping, you'll find that it's usually best if you camp with other people, especially if you're solo traveling. So I try and camp where there's other people camped out. And I try and camp when there's more than just one vehicle, because you never know. It's a safety thing. And you don't want to be in like some a lot of the BLM areas are really special for like guns and stuff. So like you don't want to be in an area where you're the only vehicle by yourself and it's not going to happen, whether it's a wildlife thing or another person thing, you know? Especially as a girl, you have to think these things through. So that being said, use your discretion. I always use my gut instinct. If I feel unsafe in an area, it's worth moving every single time. If I have a gut instinct and I'm like, this feels off, but I don't know why, I'm moving. It's better to be safe than sorry. It may suck to have to pack yourself up and move again, but I'd rather be safe. I'd rather be safe than on some murder mystery. Traveling and setting yourself up, I think it's really nice to have a cooler if you can, just so you can keep stuff cold. I don't bring ice in my cooler all the time. I guess I probably do like, honestly, like one thing of ice a week, and then when that goes, usually I don't get fresh fruit until I get the next thing, or like I'll eat the fresh fruit, I'll get like smaller batches from a grocery store that I eat right away within a day or two, so it doesn't need to be refrigerated. Just because if you're constantly dumping ice, I found people give you weird looks if you're like draining clean water to the ground from your cooler, and it's just not a good look. I don't know, look at you kind of strange. I don't really like being watched by people. It's like the weirdest thing to be like dumping your cooler in a parking lot. People are like, what is this girl doing? When you are deciding on the vehicle, I have a couple of racks. So if you have a small compact SUV, or you have an SUV in general, if you have a 4Runner, ideal. If you have like a Subaru or a hatchback or a Toyota Matrix or a Honda Fit, those are all really good options to be discreet, but also have enough room to make the road trip work. I've seen a few people do that. I personally, in a road trip to Australia with a friend, we split like a compact SUV and just made it work. It's not the most glamorous thing. One thing I did find is that if you are sleeping in like one of those small SUVs or something, you can get yourself like a camping blow up like mattress pad thing. I'll show you the one that I got. I actually got it for a camping trip, but then it actually came in super handy when I rented like this vehicle while this was in the shop. And then you can blow it up and pump it up, and it just makes it so much more comfortable than sleeping on like the hard backs of seats. And it only takes like maybe 2 minutes to blow up and down, but this is the one that I've got. It was like 20 bucks on Amazon. You guys can find it first if you would. When you are eating on the road, I think it's really good to have some sort of cutlery. I got like a cheap like 3-pack of knives and forks and spoons. I think they're like $1 for each pack of 3. So it was like 3 knives for $1, 3 forks for $1. Like you don't need the fancy ones or anything. Or if you just have them, bring them from home. And then try to keep your things in certain places and try and organize them amongst the bags, or just have a general gist of like where everything is. If you just stuff everything into like corners, it just becomes kind of chaotic and super messy and disorganized every time you grab something, because everything flies out. So I have like a number of different bags that I like zip things into, especially with clothes. I find that I wear the same clothes, so I feel like I didn't need as many clothes as I brought, and I didn't even bring that many clothes, but it's more so like layers. Like I'm wearing a tank top, and then I have this flannel on, and these shorts, and I can wear a pair of pants. I feel like I wear like the same like 5 outfits, honestly, and then the people that you're seeing are not going to know that you're wearing the same outfit. You guys are, because I'm posting this stuff in all the same outfits, but I don't really mind that. I'm just like, as long as it's clean and it's not gross. I keep a bag up front of the dirty clothes. I use like a Trader Joe's bag, and I just kind of stuffed all my dirty clothes up there, because I don't want them mixed in or smelling, especially if I've been like hiking for for a really long time, or if I went to the gym and then I've got like this stinky clothes that are like covered in sweat, I really don't want that to sit with my other stuff. So I put it in the front passenger side, and then I just put it in that bag, and then when I get to the laundromat, I'll deal with it. But that's what I do with my dirty clothes, usually when they get really stinky, because usually I'll wear things like 2 or 3 times, but like if it gets a stain on it, or if I sweated a lot in it, then that's when it goes in that bag up front. The bag of do not touch this until it gets washed. I'd say it's good to have like easy access to things. So if you have something you're going to use every day, like kind of have it out or have it to the side or have it in, like give each thing like a home, if that makes sense. So that way you can find your keys, you can find your phone, you can find your charger, you can find your, I wear contacts, so the contact solution contact case because I hate always shifting around and looking for it. Ways to budget. So again, coming back to, we talked about gas money and how you can set aside for that, how you can estimate, how you can add that 10% or a couple hundred miles onto your estimate. And that also gives you leeway for if gas is more expensive or less expensive in a certain area. And I would also recommend grocery stores. I love getting those little curry packets from the grocery store because they don't require any cooking. Eat the one with like a lot of meats, you should probably do that. Don't get mad at me if you get sick, because I do not recommend that. But the ones that are like vegetable curry, those are usually pretty good because they've already been heated and cooked and they're like dried storage. So I like using those for hiking or like on the go meals when I don't feel like making anything. And then when I go to the grocery store, I just kind of stock up on the fresh stuff. I eat it first, try to at least. And then the stuff that's more like oatmeal and chia seeds and almond butter, wraps, sandwiches, like those are kind of my go-to things. I love good bell pepper. I love hummus. So like if I know that I'm going to eat veggies with hummus, I'll do that like where I'm gonna get the grocery store for the next couple days, and usually that stays good enough to have. I'm definitely really focused on my health for food, so like I try and make sure that I get veggies in. I know there's some people that can go just with peanut butter and jelly, and I mean if I had to I would, but I feel like health is really important, and when I can affordably decide to do so, then I will get the veggies. I do have a 2 propane burner stove, but like it's almost a month in and I still haven't used it. I know that I will at some point. I did use it on my last bus trip, but I just haven't really used it. Honestly, I'm a lazy cook and like I haven't cooked with it, so there you go, no other excuses there. I like that when you go in the national park, sometimes they'll give you the little maps. A game changer for me has been the NPS app, so the National Park Service app, because it'll tell you the different timetables. Like certain national parks, because they're so popular, you have to reserve a time to enter, or you go super early in the morning or late in the day when they allow anyone to enter any time, just because of the crowds. The other thing that it has is it has recommendations for a lot of the hikes and more details. They also have it on the maps here, but it's nice to have it kind of interactive, right? So sometimes they'll use this, sometimes they'll use the ones on the app. It also allows you to download the maps, so that way you don't have to use data, because a lot of areas of national parks are of course more remote and you're not going to have like any bars on your phone. So if you don't have it in advance, the app isn't going to work. So if you download it within the app, you should be good to go. And if you don't want to do that, just get yourself a traditional map and sort it out from there. I think when I was choosing like places, I just had like general ideas, like when I'm in a certain area, I'm gonna go see a bunch of different things and go exploring. And I didn't really have like I had like a general idea of like 10 to 12 days in this sort of area and that sort of area between these places, but I allowed myself the flexibility to be like, if I don't really like this, I'll just keep moving on. Or like, oh, it all looks the same to me. Like Badlands National Park, I honestly didn't spend that much time at, because once you drive through it, you're like, okay, I mean, it's a pretty small national park. I mean, it's cool, it's amazing, but like, it's like once you've seen it, if that makes sense. There's nothing like drastically different amongst different parts of the park, at least in my opinion, or what I saw. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was super cool, but I didn't need to spend a week there. that make sense? But anyways, in my schedule, I just kind of have it to where I can adjust. I did end up having to go to the mechanic in like a different area than what I thought, and had some detours because of that. And so I basically also realized that I didn't want to be driving through the mountains as much as I had forecasted and planned for. So I pivoted and just went in a different direction, but still used kind of the roadmap of like, okay, these parks were on my list and I was going to do them within this amount of time, but I'm just doing them at a different time than what ChatGPT had planned. You can also tell ChatGPT to do it different, but I just decided I'm just going to swap it out and do the other stuff later because I was having some part things going on. My calipers on my brakes were dragging, which causes the front tires to get really hot, which is bad. And it was squealing. So I had to get new calipers, and that took a while. So that was my little detour. That is done and dusted, hopefully. The new calipers are on there, and hopefully that's good. And yeah, just national park hopping, loving it. I'm just so thankful that I'm out here doing this. It's not easy, but it's definitely worth it. I think this is one of those things I'm going to look back on when I'm 60 or 80 and be like, oh my gosh, there's little me talking in the camera and like, this is what I did, and like, you know, that I actually had the guts to do it. Because so many people, like, we say like, oh, I'd love to do that one day, but one day becomes just postponed again and again and again, and then it doesn't actually happen. So for me, I was like, you know what, I've already postponed this enough. I told myself I wanted to do this. I've been eyeing this for so long, like, why do I keep pushing it off? And I didn't really have a good reason. It was just like these excuses, but they were all like, you could push through the excuses. You could be like, oh, whatever, like, make it work. Like, if you want to do something badly enough, you'll make it work. And like, the other thing is too, is like a lot of people bring up budget, and it's like, okay, well, you can go out of any vehicle, honestly. You can even, I've seen people go out of the back of cars. Like, you can go in your trunk and like have seats down and like make that work. It's obviously not as comfortable, but you can make it work. I think where there's a will, there's a way, and if it's something you really want to do, you can make it happen. And I just want to encourage you in that. And the cool thing about these videos is that I get to vicariously like bring each and every one of you who gets to see this in on this experience. And also, I love the fact that like when we're old, we can look back on this and be like, oh my gosh, like, did this, and it was really fun, really cool. And I think you'll remember like the funny parts more so than the hard parts. And you'll be like, oh, this is so cool, it's so fun. And I'm just super grateful. And you know, coming out of this bus, and I'm in Utah exploring the national parks. And I'd never been to Utah in my life before, and it's such a beautiful, vast, big state. It also has a lot of canyons.